Hello, everyone, and welcome to my presentation. My name is Lauren Aldridge, and today I'll be talking about internal and external communication among school districts. In the readings this week, we read a lot about the communication process and the different elements of communication. And communication basically means, in this discussion, the communion or mutual sharing of ideas and feelings. It's not one sided, it's that mutual exchanging of ideas. And we learned that effective communication doesn't just happen, it really needs careful planning, especially in a school district. The primary purpose behind communication process is trying to change attitudes and opinions through the use of persuasive messages. So, changing people's ideas, changing people's feelings. In school and community relations, this purpose is frequently referred to as that of trying to bring about informed public consent. And we read about what I have on this slide, which is all the different elements of communication, the source, which is simply the sender of the information, the encoder, which is the message form that's used, so what that message actually is. The channel is the manner in which the message is carried, so whether it's a conversation or an email. The decoder is the perception and interpretation of the message. So that's once the message is received, how that is perceived. And then the receiver, which is the conceptualization, I can't say that word, of a message. Okay, so that once that person gets it and they conceptualize it. So those are the different elements of communication, and that is the focus of the readings this week and the school districts in terms of their internal communications and their external communications. First, we'll talk about internal communication. And internal communication has become really important to school boards and administrators recently, and it's a vital part of a comprehensive school community relations program. We've seen this becoming more and more important over the years. And just as a successful school system depends on that working relationship with the community, a school system also needs to have solid relationships with those internal to the organization. It's hard to run an organization if you don't have a really strong working relationship with everyone involved internally. So, when we think about internal communication, who are we talking about? And I have on this slide here the people that we're mostly thinking about is the school board, the superintendent, all of the administrators, all of the teachers, and all of those non instructional personnel. And we're not just looking at specific groups, but we're also looking about how those groups communicate with each other. So, in other words, how the administration communicates with the superintendent and how the teachers communicate with the school board. But we're also looking at how those groups interact with each other, like how the teachers interact with each other, how those non instructional personnel interact with each other. Okay, so we're looking at a large group of people internally and how we can build a communication system internally that's very strong. Unfortunately, many of us have probably seen some problems with internal communications within our own districts or districts that we've previously worked in. And there can be a lot of problems with internal communication, especially in large school districts when there's so many different moving parts. Some of the problems that come up most often are poor relations among teachers, not having that strong connection amongst teachers and working together as a team. Um, Another problem is lack of administrative leadership. And this can be quite problematic when the administrators aren't leading in a way that is effective for the schools. Inadequate instructional practices within the classroom can cause a lot of problems. Unethical conduct, of course, unequitable division of responsibility. So, people thinking it's not fair that this person has to do this or that. And of course, the formation of cliques, which we may or may not have seen amongst our own schools. So, these are some problems that we do see and need to be the focus of trying to build positive internal communications and working relationships among the school district. So these are things that we really need to be aware of as administrators, and making sure that these common problems don't occur within our district. Since we know that internal communication is so important, we need to really look at ways that we can strive to make our internal communication system the best it can be. A good external communication program can't survive without a good internal communication program. So we need to start inside our districts and build strong communication there. Um, we need constructive ideas suggested by employees because someone is listening and informing them. And human needs such as recognition and a sense of belonging um, will be met by having a strong internal communication system, and that makes employees more productive. So it's really, really important for us to move towards a strong internal communication system. And I have listed on this slide some ways that we can really work on building that. Improving staff relations, having an internal advisory committee, encouraging suggestions among staff, recognition of accomplishments, which is so important, involvement in planning, having improvement teams and quality circles, having awesome staff development, and keeping everyone in the loop with internal publications, websites, email, and social media. I can think of examples of all of these within my current school district or ones that I've worked at in the past, and I can tell you from firsthand knowledge that these things really do help to build that internal communication, and that strong internal communication really helps build the district in a positive way. As we shift to external communication, we need to really look at, again, our internal communication. So when we first start thinking about communicating with external audiences, we have to begin by assessing our communication and relationships internally, because a school system can't expect to have great external public relations unless it enjoys strong relationships with internal audiences. So again, we're still looking at that internal piece even as we shift to the external communication. Um, we know that teachers are powerful, credible communicators throughout the community. And if teachers and students are expressing support and enthusiasm for their schools, then they'll be influential in reinforcing the school's communication initiatives externally. So we need to look at how things are going internally with both students and teachers, and how that's seeping out into the external community. Because if the internal people are expressing doubt or they're unhappy about school issues, then they will really undercut the school's formal communication efforts to the external community. And when we're talking about external communication, who are we talking about? We're talking, of course, about parents and taxpayers, but also service and civic organization, news media in the area, and really anyone that has any stake or interest in the school district, especially when situations occur and information about the district starts to come out in the news media. So really, anyone that is connected to the district is part of the external community. It's my perspective that parents being involved in the schools is absolutely critical when it comes to that external community. The bottom line for any school community relations program is to help students succeed, and students have a better chance to succeed when parents are involved in the schools. I listed on this slide some ways that schools can get parents involved, and obviously this is not an exhaustive list. There are countless ways to have parents be involved, and it's really crucial that parents feel welcome in the schools and feel a part of the school. Feel that the school is part of their family and their community. Um, so some ways that have been effective in having parents be more involved are hosting events for parents of preschool children before they, transition to kindergarten, getting them involved in the school right off the bat. Having night sessions to make sure that parents are able to attend outside of their workday. Having the school open for parents to use for recreational purposes. Um, Sponsoring events where parents can chat with staff on certain topics, whether it's the principal or a reading specialist or just the teachers. Offering a monitored online or email feedback service where parents can ask questions and get responses back quickly. Having a phone that's available in the evening for questions from parents or citizens, so that they can, call in when they are not working. Inviting parents into the school to observe their children is huge. Arranging meetings in the library for advising parents on books to purchase for their children on their reading level or areas of interest. And of course, asking parents to come in and help with seasonal celebrations or similar events, assemblies, classroom parties, anything like that. The more the parents feel like they're welcome into the school, the better they tend to feel about the school. The activities that the schools hold are another aspect of that external community involvement. Um, Many activities that the school system engages in throughout the community should really be seen as communication opportunities with the community at large. They need to be planned and, considered as part of that communication plan. Whenever community members come to an athletic event or read a publication or watch a performance, then their impressions are conveyed by word of mouth to their friends and community members, and they express whether they were satisfied or dissatisfied with the activity. And we know that the cumulative effect of favorable reactions to these face to face interactions over time can influence the attitudes and opinions of citizens toward the school system. So every time a community member participates in an activity at a school, they walk away feeling pleased and share that with their community members, or the opposite. And some of the activities that we should be thinking about when we're thinking about that communication with the external community are music programs, shows, theater productions, art and creative shows, various assemblies, field trips. Athletic events are huge because a lot of community members do come to athletic events, even if they don't have children currently enrolled in the district. The commencement ceremonies, which again have various community members attending. And of course, work study programs and internships where other people are involved in the schools and really get a picture of what those schools look like, and, create a favorable view of the school or not so much. The overall takeaway from my presentation should be the absolute importance of both internal and external communication and how both are necessary if you want a positive school community relation. Also, the elements of communication and the way that communication needs to be clearly and carefully planned out, and communication plans need to be set up so that both internal and external communication is positive. The information that I used to create this presentation is from our textbook, The School and Community Relations, which I have pictured here, and the reference, and also from my personal experience in working with school districts. So I hope that you learned something new from my presentation today. Thank you.